Good afternoon, folks. It is always great to have you here for Skipping Lunch. This is my second episode this week, so that's a lot of fun. And hopefully, I've rejiggered the network enough that our guest will not be flipping in and out of different realities this afternoon. So that should also be a lot of fun. But thank you all for coming on and for streaming with us today. I don't want to waste a whole lot of time because we have an awesome guest who is really excited to talk about some cool stuff coming up. And so let's all say hello to DM Scotty, the author of Easy D6. Scotty, how are you doing?
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
And thank you so much for coming on. We were having a blast talking before we went live today. So it was really fun. I was actually surprised that we started on time because we were just going back and forth. We have a whole lot of things to talk about with Easy D6 and things that you have been up to. There will be interjections from the audience, I am sure. I have a couple folks who like to throw out rather interesting questions and comments during the stream. Unfortunately, I can't throw them on the screen because I haven't figured out how to do that in OBS just yet. But that's fine. And it'll be great. And somebody says hello to you, calls you a legend. So that's a nice way to start out, Scotty.
That was very kind. Thank you.
But you just had a rather unique experience that you just got back from. We want to tell the audience what you were up to?
Yeah, I got to run an entire week of Easy D6 for people. Amazing. There's a YouTuber named Wargamer Girl, and she runs a retreat every year called Valhalla in the Fall, and it's mostly a wargaming thing. But she really wanted to bring in RPGs because some players were like, "Oh, we'd be fun." So she knew me and she contacted me and she says, "Hey Scott, would you like to come and run?" And so yeah, and so first year I did I did a D&D thing. It was pre Easy D6, and then the plague hit, and then I missed a couple years. But then last year I went back and I brought Easy D6 in full force. I had full terrain, I had miniatures, everything, and the players like loved it. It was so great. And we had our own tables, set up to do this, and I had all my terrain around, and I got to set everything up, and it was just a really cool mini campaign. I was telling Wes that since it was all consecutive days, we got to play like the mini campaign like 3 days in a row. Like, how often do you get to do that? Not very often, right? It's maybe you meet once a week or a month or something, and the player's like, "What happened last time?" But this was really great because everything was fresh in their mind, what had happened and everything, and it was really cool. It was kind of like Strangers in a Strange Land, where they got their nemesis like threw them into this dying planet,
Oh, cool.
and there are these two mutated sorceresses like fighting over the remains of the day essentially, and it turns out that the planet was dying because they had drained all the magic out of it, and they were for this refuge that was left, they were draining magic from the moons. And so like they had this device hidden underground that was draining the magic from the moons. And so the moons were about to crash into the planet, right? So they run into this archaeologist who tells them, "Hey, we got to do something." They didn't know it was so soon,
Okay.
but the archaeologist like, "We got to get out of here." And there was like a group of people who were like, Freetown were, because what had happened was the mages had set up this thing where it would pull material from other worlds. So it was called the dump, and
Okay.
you'd have piles of like stuff that it was pulling from, and it would pull people, right? It would pull people through, and so some people would make it to Freetown and be protected by them, or other people would join the two sorceresses who hated. They were actually sisters,
Of
and they just
course.
hated each other, but they had mutated so much because they were ingesting this moonstone stuff, which was like highly magical stuff.
Okay.
They were like Cthulian creatures, right? They weren't even human anymore, right? They had no legs, tentacles, and I gave them like a woman's face or whatever, but they were just like mutated beyond, and they couldn't even speak anymore. Like they had like their subconscious like actually directed their followers. Like they didn't tell their followers what to do, right?
Uh-huh.
It was
Uh-huh.
just like they knew that the two hated each other, right? And
Okay.
that's the only thing that really saved Freetown, because the two sisters are constantly warring each other. Um,
Oh,
and
wow.
so that was a blast. And then I had an epic ending. There was funny though, because I love to do things with players where give them a choice, right? Like
Uh-huh.
it can be fun to say, "Oh, rock falls on your head, boom, take a strike or whatever." But that's not the funnest way to do things. The funnest way to do things is to let players make their own death, right? Decide
Yes.
on their own
Yes.
decide on their own doom, right?
Absolutely.
So we had these two sorcerers or conjurers who discovered the moon rock, right? And they started ingesting it, and I was giving them like bonuses to their casting, right?
Okay.
For doing it. And then they find out like, oh, there's this queen monster thing that's mutated from it. And the other party's like, maybe you shouldn't do that anymore, right?
I'm only running them for 3 days. I don't care. Right.
And then they find out that the two sisters have the same thing. They've been ingesting this moonstone for, hundreds of years or
Oh,
whatever.
gosh.
And like, they're just mutant monsters. They're not even human anymore, right? So it's like, maybe you should stop doing that. Well, I'll stop just one more time, right?
I can stop anytime.
Oh, this
my
would
God.
really help this time, right? I'll just do it one more time. So
But
so I'm
did you
like,
have a bunch of people running around saying that the magical climate was not changing?
and of course they don't listen to the other players, right? So
Absolutely. Yes.
when they end up escaping and going back to their own world or whatever, the one guy had a familiar that was like a head. There was a severed head, right? And it was kind of this. I made him like this evil head, right? And
Okay.
it was like, give me the moonstone, I will help you. And he's like, no, like, no, I'm not giving you that. No, you're not getting that. But he had adjusted like tons of moonstone, right? So
Okay.
when they're portaling back, the head attaches to his body,
Oh,
right?
dear.
And then his other head like atrophies down to this little like withered stump, right? And the other head becomes like him and takes him over.
My God.
And he's like, dude, that was the best thing that ever happened to me in a game. That was so awesome.
I love everything about that. That is so bizarre. And it's not just a head. His familiar's a severed evil head.
Right,
It's going to be an evil head.
It's an evil severed some familiar head, So it's like, so I love that kind of thing where players set themselves up, right?
Oh my gosh.
Like he was warned time and time again. It's like,
Don't
dude, what are
do
you doing? Don't eat
this.
this rock. Like, quit it. The other party's like, I don't think that's a great idea.
They teach us that when we're children. Do not eat rocks.
Not eat candy.
here's an example of crazy questions from the comment section. King Eric, the greatest of all, wants to know if the moon rocks tasted like cheese. And if not, there's your idea for the next time you run it.
And that kind of thing, I let the player come up with. Like, what does it taste like? What does this taste like? I like to do that kind of thing too.
Yeah.
As opposed to have it set, right?
Awesome.
It's always fun to throw back on the players and have them answer those questions, right? Yeah.
There's the things that I'm still learning how to do more of. Because sometimes the player's just like, oh, I don't know. What do I do? I don't know. Think of the first crazy thing that you can think of. And like, oh, okay.
Or what would you do in this situation, right? If you're in this situation, think of what you do. And I like that. I like that kind of train of thought. And then, look at your character sheet and figure out what you got. Right?
Yes. That was so we were talking before, and I just started running my Numenera campaign, but that was one of the cool things of putting together the party is the 4 characters there, and they roll for their party connections. And we sat there, and a couple of them were like ill-defined. We're like, we'll figure this out along the way. And then a couple of them were like, well, I'm changing my whole character arc because now I was in the same group that you were in, and we're both on the run, and they're coming over here. And this other guy decided that he used to be employed by the nemesis that the one guy's trying to track down, and he's trying to make amends. And it was like, okay, and they all did that all spontaneously. This is a thing, which was so much fun. But that's the type of thing that I love at a table is for folks to come up with it.
It's great.
Really,
or
really
if
cool.
you can't think of anything, that's fine too, right?
Sure.
Like discover who you are and play. You don't have to have a 10-page backstory, right? Just if you don't know who you are, and you can make that stuff up while you play. Oh, I was the exiled, son of a lord or whatever. If it fits with the story or something, just do it, right? I mean, because you haven't defined your character yet, right? So that's one thing. What I want to do with aspects, like don't sweat over the aspects for EZD6.
Okay.
Like if you can't think of anything right then, just think of it in the game, and everybody always does. They always think of an aspect during the game if they haven't picked it yet.
Yeah, situation hits and their personality begins to emerge, which is I think
this guy's
really
kind
cool.
of this guy's kind of this or that, and then That's what they are, so that's great, discovering that in play.
Someone points out, discover the story. Yes, yes, Eric
Hmm.
Pixola. That's
Hmm.
exactly what it is. And hi, some folks I haven't seen before. I don't think I've had Peter Ferguson on before, so hi, which is really fun. And everybody else, all the other folks who are on my regulars, I guess I should shout out. So Dave, Epic Solo, King Eric, Mage's Musing, Todd Lyons, thank you so much. Good to have you on. So now you finished Valhalla. I got to ask, were there other role playing games being played there besides EZD6, or were you like the sole person
They would
representing that aspect of the hobby?
they would have like they had a few other games going,
Okay.
and it's funny. I had a DM come up to me, and he said, like, he saw me running my game, and
Uh huh.
he's like he's like, I thought I was a good DM. And then I saw you.
No, no, it's the
I'm like,
DM
no, I
Scotty
don't want you to
effect.
feel that way. No.
We're
But
renaming the Mercer
that
effect to
sounds
you.
really conceited. But that's what he told me. That's what he
Oh,
told me.
I love
He
that.
didn't want his son to play with me because his son won't ever want to play with him again.
Oh gosh.
But
It's like, no.
I go see these. I'm kind of hanging around, and I see these people playing another role playing game, and they're dealing with the rules breaks, right? What I call rules breaks,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
where nothing's happening at the table.
Uh huh.
They're looking stuff up, right?
Yep.
And like, there's nothing more boring or immersion breaking than rules breaks, right?
Yes.
And that's what I call when you have to look up rules. And EZD6, that never happens.
It's like I'm just roll a d6. If it's over
Yeah,
a three, it
right. That
works.
that
It's fine.
almost never happens. I mean, if you're new, you may have to do a couple things, but
Yeah.
after you get a couple games under your belt, you'll never have to look at rules. You'll never have to look at your character sheet.
Yeah. I think for
So
some people it's the magic and miracles that screw them up because that changes the mechanic a little bit.
yeah, it
So
is. It is. Yeah.
so
And the magic and miracles. I'm so happy with that system because spell systems are the hardest thing to do for a game, right? If you
right.
think about it,
Yeah.
right? And most light games, what they do is they like take all the cool spells out and they give you like a few lame spells, right? A
Mm-hmm.
few low
Mm-hmm.
level spells, right? That's not making it awesome or
Right.
light. That's just making it lame, right? I mean, you could do in EZD6 if you get lucky enough. You can do anything as spectacular as you can in D&D or any other game, right?
Uh-huh.
It's
Uh-huh.
just there's not pages and pages and pages and books and of rules, right? That you have to look up, rules breaks that you got to look up.
Right.
Um, but the magic system was the hardest to do for EZD6 because think about it, it's really hard, right?
Yeah.
Because you got the kind of listed spells which you can do. Light is generally the lame spells, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's no fun.
I can see. Woohoo.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I also did a thing where you randomly rolled for your spells when I was first play testing,
okay.
and nobody wanted to play a conjure.
Because it was like they were afraid they were going to get something totally awful.
Right.
Yeah.
What it wouldn't be their play style, right?
Mm-hmm.
People want to pick. They want to pick what their thing is, right? So that didn't work. And then I came up with the spell mechanic, which I like for a lot of reasons. One is it's not the same as attacking, right?
Right.
Just attack and roll the die, right?
Correct.
Because in other games, especially D&D, it's the same. Whether you attack with a spell or whether you attack with a sword, it's the same thing.
Just an
You
attack.
roll a
Right.
hit, add your bonus, and then you add your damage, right? You roll
Yep.
your damage.
Yep.
It's the same exact thing. It doesn't feel any different. But I wanted the spells to feel different, and since it's a mini game, it does. And with my how I like things, it's your choice, right?
Right.
You can decide how much you power the spell. If you want to take your chances and power it with 3 dice, go for it. You know what I'm saying? If you want to take your chance with 1 die, then you may not cast a spell, but it's probably you're not going to roll the 1, right? So I
Right.
really love that mechanic.
Huh.
And I don't like one thing I don't like about is kind of forced results from like things that happen randomly to a character. So like
Okay.
spell failure, right? Like it makes you maybe you grow a tentacle out of your head, or now you're purple, or whatever.
So like the way Dungeon Crawl Classics does it, or low fantasy.
Yeah, I'm
games.
not a fan of that.
Okay.
I want the player to choose, right? So
okay.
you do have the choice in this system because if you roll the 1,
You can take a strike.
then
Yeah.
you take a strike. but you chose to take it, right?
Right.
Now, I do have a bit of that in the Blastmaster, which if you roll a 1, other things can happen, like your hair color will change
Yep.
or your whatever, but you choose it. You choose what color it is. You choose, and nothing's ever
Right. So
nothing's so
there's a huge
debilitating
amount of
or
player
character
agency
changing.
inside of EZD6.
Right, right.
Yeah.
The character still has agency about what they choose, right? It's not just, oh, you have now, now you have this,
All right.
and now
So
you have an eye in your middle of your head or whatever.
let me ask you a
So
question
I'm
real
not a
quick.
fan of that stuff
Okay.
unless the player chooses it.
So let me ask you a question real quick, just for advice, because Magic is one of the things that I love the mini game of it. Narrating it and its impact has been one of the things that I found challenging. Is like, well, how far do you push these effects? Because for folks who don't know, EZD6 does not have spells. Like, there's no spell list for you. You're like, this is my conjure. This is the type of thing that I impart into the world, and so I narrate this, and then you have to work with the GM or the rabble rouser, which I think is great, in order to do it out. So one of the things that I have, because folks always just want spells to do damage, and Magic only does one strike and it doesn't crit, so you don't have that cool crit thing. But I've had people when it's like, well, I want to chop off their wings with like turn my tentacle buzzsaw and like try to chop off the dragon's wings. Can I do that? I'm like, sure. But like, what advice do you have to give to rabble rousers for how they can narrate the game and kind of keep it fun and insane, because EZD6 is utterly insane, and yet still make it fun so that all the players get to have
Right,
some cool stuff to do too.
right. Basically, give them the choice of more resistance, right?
Okay.
So, say the thing is like one resistance die, right?
Right.
You say, okay, that's going to be really tricky to do, so I'm going to roll 4 resistance die for that, 3 or 4 resistance die.
Gotcha.
Do you want that, or do you want to just stick with grabbing it, pulling it, having the tentacle grab it and pull it and knock it down,
Okay.
as opposed to
Okay.
try to chop the wing off, right?
Okay.
And so I was getting to that for once, because I had a guy in a game where he was a fire elementalist and he wanted to do kind of a mirage,
Ooh.
like with like the shimmering
Uh-huh.
fire,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
And I was like, well, that's very interesting. So I did a similar thing. Like, I made it hard. Like, I
Okay.
made it like, I'm going to add more resistance dice because this is a hard effect to do, right? Instead of just
Gotcha.
blasting somebody with a firebolt or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
this is going to
Mm-hmm.
be really hard to do. So yes, you can do it, but I'm going to roll more dice.
And
Or you can just say no,
right.
because a lot of things will be like, the system will kind of, you know direct you, like, say, oh, I want to do a nuclear blast that kills everyone, or whatever. It's like, well, you can only hit up to 6 characters, so that's the limit, right?
Right.
So your nuclear blast is only going to hit that. So, what I'm saying, you can, or I want to kill something outright,
Who are you playing that wants to nuclear
that kind of
blast the
stuff.
whole thing? Like, I want to blow things up. It's like,
That
you
kind of
need
stuff.
therapy. That's weird. Um, and for folks who want to know what resistance die is, you have the like creatures in or targets in EZD6. You can tell me if I explain this wrong. They have a level of spell resistance. It's a number of D6s that you roll. The highest number becomes the target number that you have to match or beat in order to successfully cast the spell. So it's a really dynamic spell casting system, and miracles work much the same way. So did I get it right?
Yes, yes.
I got it. Okay,
You
cool.
did, yes,
I'm,
yes, you got it right. That's
I'm,
exactly
I'm
it.
gonna George Costanza this and just walk away, just walk off of the tick. Um, so yeah, that's so much fun. So I love that this game is so unique, and it's about to become more unique because you're working on a post-apocalyptic rule book, or is it like a separate rule book, or is it like do you need the EZD6 core rule to play, or is it completely its own thing?
It you do, does have like a rule summary, but I mean, it would be better to have the basic book first,
Gotcha.
especially if you're not familiar with EZD6.
Mm-hmm.
But you could muddle through with, like, the rules, because the rules aren't that hard, really. Like,
Right.
there is a rules thing that's on the website where you can download, that's just like, one-page rules essentially of EZD6, right?
Right. 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 Right.
Or the back of the book, that has it. But it's the same thing. But I think in the make your own stuff pack that I have on the site. You can
Mm-hmm.
download it. It has that one page rules that you can include with your game or
Okay.
whatever you make. But yeah, so really it's that, and it follows basically the same rules. But I added a lot of stuff. We were talking earlier before the stream because I like games that add rules for like the particular genre or type of feeling you're trying to get for the game, right?
Right.
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. So a post-apocalyptic thing kind of calls for some different stuff than a fantasy game might. Like we were talking earlier, where food is an issue, right? Like food and water is an issue in a desolate world, right? Whereas like in fantasy, unless you're in a desert or something, you don't really worry about food most of the time, right? It's
Right.
like you take your rations or whatever, and you never think about it again, right? You write it
Uh-huh.
on your sheet, you never think about it again. So, but in Wasted World, that is a different thing. Now, um, as far as tracking, that's not something that's fun to do. So what I did was I made a general thing called supply. And the
Okay.
supply is basically bullets and food and water, right?
Okay.
So at the end of every day you need to use one supply for food and water,
Uh-huh.
okay? And if you shoot guns, if you're using machine guns, you lose two supply, right? So
Okay.
if you want to use assault rifles and this kind of thing. Now, this game has something that Easy D6 really doesn't, which is special weapons, right?
Uh-huh.
So, like, certain weapons called for specific rules, like a rocket launcher. Like, it's not going to do one strike, right?
Uh-huh. Right.
Or, I have like blast guns, which they're not, they're gonna have certain bonuses and stuff. Now, but usually it's like some modification of the rule. So, like,
Okay.
an assault rifle will do one strike, but it gives you a boon to shoot because you're spraying the target with bullets, right?
Okay.
And it gives you a 5+ to crit because you're spraying the target with bullets, right?
Okay.
So there's no like, oh, this is a D4 weapon or D6
Right,
or
right, right, right,
whatever.
right.
It's still only doing one strike, but it has a better chance to hit, and it has a better chance to do more than one strike, right? Because it's an
Gotcha.
assault rifle.
And which gives you more. Right. Okay. That's
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah,
So those are different weapons. And I do
yeah.
have so we were talking before, and this goes into one of our viewers, King Eric, has asked, is this going to be similar to TSR's game Gamma World? And we were talking a little bit about this
Oh
beforehand.
yeah,
So Gamma World's like a couple hundred years past
yeah.
the apocalypse. You're more Mad Maxy. Is that that's where we were going with that?
Yeah, this is more Mad Maxy. This would be probably less than 100 years. You can decide on the time that you want, for your world. But I'm saying, like, there are people alive that remember what happened, like very old people,
Okay.
which are few and far between.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
in a,
It's a
in a,
very
in a kind of a
young world, yeah.
post-apocalyptic world.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
so a
yeah.
little
So
bit, yeah, you're
yeah,
not quite
people
as far
remember.
around. It's not the ancients, it's just like what those idiots did before they blew up the world. Um, and do you have the
Right.
special?
Which
Go
which
ahead.
wasn't the idiots, actually.
Oh no, who did it?
Nope,
You can.
nobody knows what happened.
That
Nobody
seems
knows what
real.
happened. Yeah, yeah. Which, yeah, that's usually the case.
Uh huh.
But this strange effect engulfed the Earth, called the miasma, or some people call it the demon sky, right?
Okay.
And it's this basically like the psychic turmoil that surrounded the world. And so, like, a, a large percentage of the population went crazy. Like, and that's how civilization fell apart, right?
Okay.
So the survivors, are the people that have a certain resistance to it. Or I have weirds, which can tap into the miasma or the demon sky and have powers like spells.
Hero pads are you putting into this game?
Oh yeah, yeah. So there's quite a selection, actually. So I've got the Wasteland Warrior. I have the Rambler, which is kind of like a uh, a character who deals with people.
Okay.
I have a hunter who in the hunter of the wasteland.
Uh huh.
I have a weird, which is like someone who can tap into the miasma, the psychic powers. I have a mutie, which is like you have physical mutations.
Okay.
I have, yeah, I have a a scavvy, which is like they can scavenge for stuff. They're good at finding scrap, which scrap is, everybody needs scrap, right? Because you get to build anything, you need scrap. So I have a machine head, which is like the kind of put stuff together kind of person or repair stuff.
Yeah.
I have clones, which are, usually someone who's just popped out of a pod, right?
They're wondering how
So
to
they're
get to
not
cable.
very well adjusted to the world, right?
Yes.
They're like, right, they're just like brand new people. And then androids who are, like simulated humans. So my idea of androids is they have like a fleshy exterior and like a more mechanical interior. Like I was telling you, Wes, earlier, that like one of the inclinations is milk blood, where the rest of the party can drink your blood and like get their nutrition for the day.
I am so totally freaked out by that. So
I also have one where the android can like basically strip down nude, and then like you can plug your electric devices into it, and it has photosensitive skin that like charges your device. Because certain high-tech devices need
I also strip the Android and charge my iPod up. We're good. Let's go.
Yeah. I also put funny little things like there's the cell phones, right?
Okay.
They don't work because none of the technology works to
Right.
power the cell phones, right? But there's a lot of good stuff on a cell phone, right?
Sure.
You can you have a flashlight, you can record your voice, you can take pictures, like all that's really handy, right? So I call them they call them wonder slabs.
Wonder slabs. It's a
Yeah,
slab of
wonder
glass.
slabs.
Very good.
And you need to charge that, right?
Yeah.
So so there are certain like tech devices like blast guns and stuff that don't take ammo. You charge them.
Okay.
And the charge lasts for like a day of fighting, or whatever it is. Certain things have different durations, but so you can, so that's fun, because then you got, I can't necessarily carry power. There's no power cells really, so you can't necessarily carry because everything is recharged, right?
Right.
So you can't carry power cells with you. You can't just like ammo, right? If you got a blast gun and you've used it the day before and you wore it out, you can't shoot it again because you got to find a recharge, or if you got an Android buddy who you can plug into, that's great. Okay, stand there for an hour. I'm going to plug my gun in here, all right? And I'll let you decide where the plug is.
Okay? No. Yeah. So the Android with the photosynthetic skin inclination is now like the analog in Wasted World for a cleric in like every other role-playing game of all time.
Right.
Everybody has to have an android with this. Like otherwise we're just going to die. So you have that.
Right.
You sound like you're not having too much fun writing this book.
Oh, no, not at all. No. The play tests have been so much fun because I love the post-apocalyptic genre and like just I love like doing things like, because players don't always necessarily know what things are, right? So
Right.
you kind of mess with like what they think they are, right?
Okay.
One of the things I did for the game was, we were talking earlier, there is advancement. Okay. I don't call it leveling up. Okay.
Right.
It's called advancement. Okay. So you can do advancement and you can port it into EZD6 if you want. There's a couple things I did. One is that you get XP for every adventure. So every session you go, you get 1 XP, and when you get a certain amount of XP, you can spend it. So you could spend 3 for a new inclination.
Okay.
There's also perks. Each character has 2 perks when they start, and you choose one, which sucks because they're both great, right? And you want both of them. So you could buy the other one with your experience, right? But you can also buy a new resource called power pool dice. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. So power pool dice are like boons after the fact, right? So if you roll and you roll badly, you can say, I'm going to use a power pool die and roll a die. It doesn't re-roll like your hero die.
It just
like
adds
a hero
on.
Die replaces the 1.
Okay.
If you roll a 1 or something in a spell, you can't do that with a power pool die. It doesn't replace any die. It just adds it, like adding a boon after the fact.
Gotcha.
Right? So, I didn't make the roll. I'm going to roll a power pool die, and now I hopefully I made the roll, right? And if you
Okay.
don't, you can keep rolling your power pool dice until you run out, right? So you can buy those with 2 XP, up to six of those.
Nice.
And you can also turn them in. You can turn in 2 for 3 karma. You can turn in 2 for a hero die. So you can use them for other things too.
Cool.
And you can actually rest and get where hero dice. It's only a session, right?
Right. You get one a
You only get
session.
them at
Yeah.
the start of the session, right? With power pool die, if you rest, you can get one back for the resting.
Oh,
So
neat.
yeah, so that's kind of fun. So they're really really handy. So that's basically it. So you can buy more inclinations.
Oh, cool.
You can buy your perk for Wasted World, or you can buy these power pool dice, which are really neat. New dice addition to the game.
Yeah. So a couple questions on that. And for folks who don't, there's some terms and there's some folks who might not be familiar with
I'm
EZD6.
shooting them out. I'm shooting
You
the
just
terms out.
so in EZD6, if you roll a 1, it's an automatic failure. There is a resource in EZD6 called Karma that you can use to spend 1 Karma point per pip on the D6 to go up, but you cannot add Karma to a roll of a 1. So a hero die is the thing. Is like, here's my last chance. I rolled a 1. I'm going to roll this die and try to get to it, and hopefully I don't get a 1 again, because that would
Hopefully
really
you don't
stink.
get a 1 again. Yeah.
So that's the way, and that's basically the core of the game right there.
Right. Exactly.
But for these power pool dice, are you allowed to roll them when you roll a 1, or is a 1 still going to be an automatic failure?
Oh yeah, you can roll them.
Oh,
So if I say everybody like don't roll a 1, right, which I love to say,
yes,
because people invariably
I'm
do.
gonna die.
You curse me. If you roll that 1, like, oh crap, you could take a power pool die and roll it and add it to it, and hopefully you don't get another 1.
Okay,
right?
okay,
And then you're good,
okay.
because it's basically rolling with a boon. So it's
Oh,
rolling
so you're
with a
not
boon after the fact.
but
Yeah.
so are you replacing it, or are you adding it to it?
You're not replacing. You're just adding.
You're just adding. So if you roll
Yeah, so
another 1, is it still a failure?
It is, yes.
Okay, cool. So you still have that risk of failure.
You're still that risk of failure, right? Just like the hero die, you could roll another 1.
Okay.
That's a chance you take, right?
I really, really like this idea. And so the power pool, when you're buying, you're not necessarily buying dice that come back. You're expanding your power pool.
Oh yeah, you keep those dice. So next game, if you have 3 power pool dice, you start with 3 power pool dice.
That's really cool. I like that a lot.
It's really fun. And so what it kind of does to me is it, like D&D, where you have like, oh, I got bonuses because I'm this, right?
Right.
Basically, you've got floating bonuses, right? Because
Which
you
I
can
love.
add them to any roll, and you don't have to remember what they go to, right?
Right.
Oh, this die is attached to this, and this die is attached to this. It shows that you're better, right? You're better at what you're doing, right? You're going to fail less often, right? Or get second chances. So it's like, right. So it's like, so if you think about it, it's really simulating that kind of a bonus system without all the hubbub and all the math, right?
Yep. I love that.
Exactly what it's doing.
And it's one of the most appealing things about the system, is what I love it. So I like how
I'm trying to really keep it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how you're riffing off of it to expand the play for post-apocalyptic. Couple of questions coming in. One is a very involved one. We'll get to that maybe in a little bit, Dave. So I'll get to yours. Someone wants to know, are you adding vehicular combat to this?
Yes. Yes, I am. What would the game be without like Mad Maxy type battles, right? And
be flaming guitars. It'll be great. Awesome.
Right. And the thing is, that kind of stuff is trickier than it seems, right? Like, because you can either go really hand wavy,
right?
And to me that feels too light.
Okay.
Right? Because you want that visceral crash and burn and explode and everybody die. You know what I'm saying? But you also don't. It's also EZD6, right?
Yep.
You don't want like it's not a simulation. It's not a road simulation, right? So I think I got that happy medium between the two.
Okay.
There's enough detail, but not too much to like make it fun. Cars and vehicles are very similar to people. They have structural strikes they can take. But all vehicles get saves, including NPCs, right?
Oh.
Because you can blast at cars and maybe not be that effective in hitting it, right?
Cars get armor saves.
Cars get armor saves, yes, just like characters. And depending on the type of vehicles, the type of armor save they get. So
Ooh,
a stronger vehicle would get a higher armor save. Like a
cool.
car would get like a bike would get like a 6, like, and a
Okay.
car would get like a 5 or 6. I also I also have rules for like hitting a biker off a bike,
Yep.
because they're not enclosed in the vehicle, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
easier to hit. And so basically it makes it easy for passengers because I just say if you roll a confirmed crit, you can decide to hit the passengers
Oh,
instead of
okay.
the vehicle, right? You could either hit the vehicle
Uh-huh.
or you can hit the passengers, right? And maybe you get lucky and hit the driver, right? Because I roll randomly to see who you hit.
Oh, cool.
But like on a bike, if somebody's coming at you and you want to stand your ground, right?
Uh-huh.
Knock them off the bike, maybe steal the bike, right?
Okay.
After you take care of
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
So basically you stand your ground. It takes a 5 to hit somebody on a moving vehicle like that. So they're coming at you, say they're swinging a chain, and
Mm-hmm.
you got a scrap sword, you're ready to go, and you get lucky, you take them out, you hit them, you take them out, a ganger, maybe one strike,
Uh-huh.
and then what I do is I roll for you roll an out of control roll for the vehicle
To see what happens to it.
to see
Okay.
what happens. And if it survives, it might get mangled, or it might, in worst case, it could explode, but it might get mangled, or, or it might be okay, and so hopefully the bike will be okay. And then you can take it, right? It won't be, the tire won't be blown up, or, the front wrecked or whatever. So that's fun too. And then, so same thing, if like the driver gets taken out, you roll like, out of control roll, or, to see what happens,
Okay.
yeah, with the vehicle. So there are a few more things like that kind of thing. And then like, different things like, okay, in the chase, like say bikes are chasing a truck, right?
Right.
They're going to catch the truck because bikes are
They're
faster than
faster.
trucks, right?
Yes.
So basically I have levels of vehicle, like there's buggies and there's buggies and bikes, there's cars and small SUVs, and there's large SUVs and pickup trucks, then there, semis and buses and that kind of thing. So they're all different classes, and like, you know, like think of Mad Max Road Warrior 2,
Right.
like, the guy's gang could catch the semi because all those cars are faster than the semi, right?
Right, right, right.
They could catch it, and it's like the swarm of vehicles. So but the thing, and you can ram vehicles, so like a slower vehicle can't ram a faster, but if you get it within that zone of like getting close, right, it could ram you, right? It could sideswipe you or whatever and ram you, right?
Okay, okay.
Because if you're not at close range when you shoot, you take a bane because all the bumping and all this kind of stuff, right? So that makes vehicles want to get closer in,
Okay, okay.
right, to not take that penalty, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm having visions of Mad Max
Oh yeah, totally,
as you're
totally,
describing it.
totally.
And
And
by the way, if you go back and watch the comments on the video right now, I have people who want to have boomerangs that can cut fingers off.
oh, totally.
And other people are like, well, you're going to finger us, just cut out the
Feral
middleman.
kids.
So we're
Send
having
them back to
arguments
the
about what weapons should be in Mad Max and what they do. So how are you fueling the cars? Is that like another resource?
That's interesting. I give a history of it. So basically, that at the time of the apocalypse, it's about 10 or 20 years past our present time,
Okay.
right? So technology has progressed, and cars are basically self-driving and electric,
Okay.
right?
So you're not
Which doesn't
needing,
work so well for the apocalypse, right?
you just need an Android.
Oh yeah, plug the Android into your car.
You just sit there for the
Lay
rest
them
of
on
your
the
life.
roof. So basically, what's happened is cars have regressed, right? So
Okay.
machine heads have converted self-driving electric cars to gas guzzling
Oh,
driver cars, right?
okay.
Because and they what they do is they hoard the batteries in holds, which are like the bastions of civilization,
Okay. Okay.
um, and to power power holds and everything,
Okay.
because they use solar power and all that. But
Hmm.
but there's no power stations big enough to power all these cars, right? Or power
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
cars.
Yeah.
So yeah, so now it's back to gasoline. So basically, it's like a biofuel they use. They're making their own biofuel kind of thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so yeah, so the cars have regressed back to the Mad Max type of cars, right?
Very, very, very nice.
Because it's not the technology is not practical anymore.
That's so fascinating. So, and what's the environment like? Is it dry, dusty like Mad
My
Max or
idea is that the demon sky, well, it's blotted out the sun for a lot of the sun for one thing. So a lot
okay,
of the plants have died.
so it's colder.
But yeah, but it's also like caused changes in the landscape, like mutagenic change, that kind of thing. Like that's why they're
Oh,
mutants and stuff because of
gotcha,
the miasma, the demon sky. So it's caused ecological devastation too, not
gotcha.
just not just mental devastation to the human race,
Okay,
but ecological devastation. So yeah, it's destroyed the environment. It's mostly like wasteland, is what it is.
that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
It seems very strange to say this. Seems like a really good time.
It strangely is.
It's just,
It strangely is.
it doesn't seem appropriate, yet it just fits. This seems like a really fun thing to play in because I'm not living in it. It's fun.
And monsters, I went crazy with the monsters. Um,
Yeah, how many monsters are you adding to the game?
there are like 50 monsters in this.
I mean, how many
Yeah,
are in the Easy D6 core rulebook?
40,
Wow.
and 20 of them are like standard, like skeletons,
Right, right,
right?
right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
These are all like original, but
Cool.
but I really pulled from like media and books and stuff about post-apocalyptic.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I have like a group of, it's called the Pale Ones, which are like children of the damned grown up,
Oh,
essentially.
okay. Yeah.
Like they have the white hair
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
they're all
yeah,
like a
yeah.
brood collective and all this kind of stuff.
Ah.
Um, and I've got like I essentially have like mini kaiju, which are like they're called Doom Stompers.
Oh gosh.
The nastiest monster I've ever made in a game. Maybe
Really?
besides the Fallen in the second book,
Okay, okay.
uh, but because he's freaking nasty. But
I still have not picked up the adventure book.
oh no,
I
you got
feel
to check it out.
I know
It's
really
really
need to.
fun. It's really fun.
There's too many shiny things.
There, I know, but it's great too because you can, with the book you could run for other systems too. You wouldn't have to be easy D6. It's
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
easy to run with other. Although there are easy D6 stats in it, it's easy to run with other systems totally.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But and the Bova art is just
The,
fantastic in it.
the
We
art's so
actually have
good.
some maps in it, which
Oh,
is
cool.
interesting,
Okay.
which we didn't have in the original.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But yeah, these
but
monsters, they're crazy, they're awful, they're terrible.
speaking of the Bova art, like
Okay.
um Brandon is pushing Bova to like even more amazing heights. Like
Ah, nice.
the character the character portraits in the Waste of World book are amazing. They're so good. Like
Oh,
they really capture the essence of like the what they are, right?
cool.
Yeah, like the Weird has this really strange look on his face, it's just great. And the Machine Head kind of reminds me of the Riveter Rosie, from the
Uh-huh.
1940s, has that vibe. Um, the the Scavy is just like the skinny little dude with like junk all over him. Just so great. I mean, and the Hunter's all menacing, with this cloak and mask, and the Hunter can like harvest uh flesh or skin and bone from creatures of the wasteland and make like armor, make like their own
Okay.
armor.
Okay.
And so in a recent adventure I had, and it's intimidating because they look so crazy.
Sure, yeah.
And in a recent adventure I had, someone used that to their advantage. Like they snuck up on the boss, this
Okay.
gang boss, and like said, I am, they had like clawed gauntlets and all this, and they're like, I am, so and so, they have this crazy costume on, and he's like, oh God, okay, whatever, I'll do what you want. Just let me live, please. So so that's really fun. And yeah, the portraits are fun. I also have a little thing in there called the Rulebot, Rudolph the Rulebot,
Oh
and
gosh.
his head looks like a Polaroid camera.
Oh my gosh. So that like your call outs like in the original core book, the robot is doing that in the post
Well, I
apocalyptic?
am too. I do like
Okay.
call outs for like substance and stuff. The
Okay.
Rulebot does like call outs like, so remember this, or
Well,
this,
that's cool.
yeah, like little reminders to help. Like with this book, I really tried to make everything super clear, And I actually have an RR section that's like, here's some optional rules for the Wasteland, and here's some
Okay.
things, clarification type stuff,
Oh, neat, neat, neat.
which I didn't really have in the first book,
Mm-hmm.
which I
Mm-hmm.
think will help people running the game, because there's a little more going on with it, with things, weapons that do multiple strikes and this
Uh-huh.
kind of thing.
So there's things they need to get
Supply,
out.
and you keeping track of inventory and supply and all that kind of stuff. So there's a few more things, but I think the rule book kind of helps point that stuff out, so that's fun.
Are characters a little bit more sturdy? Like, or do they mostly start with 3 strikes?
They do start with 3 strikes,
Okay.
but the Wasteland Warrior, as one of your perks, you can immediately get another strike
Okay,
as one of your
cool.
2 perks. Is a new thing I've added to the book. Is you choose one of 2 things, and strikes is one of them. You can also, like, I had a character in my test campaign start with 5 strikes because he got that buff body thing from the
Okay.
Wasteland Warrior. Then he got reinforced frame, which is like a cyborg thing. So
Gotcha.
he started with 5 strikes, right? So yeah, you can bump yourself up. Now, with the level up, I also have, you can buy strikes with the level
That
up,
was going to be
or
my
with the
next question.
advancement, right? Sorry, I don't level dirty word, but advancement you can. I don't want people to feel that it's a level up, right?
Right.
Because and here's the reason. Because it's really hard for lower level characters to play with higher level characters,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, for D&D example, if you're first level and they're third level, you're probably going to die.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
yeah. Unless you're hiding in the back going, just feed
Yeah,
me the
unless you do
experience.
nothing,
Yes. Yes.
you're gonna die, right? So in EZD6, I don't want people to feel that way, because a brand new character could play with, I don't know, characters that have had 5 or 6 advances,
Yeah.
and it would be fine. There's no
Sure.
problem, because the rules are all the same. They might be a little better, and they a little more survivable perhaps, but they're not so overpowered that they can't play together,
Right.
right?
And if somebody
There's no
gets on a
comparison.
crit chain, you're both going to get taken down. So it's not
Exactly,
like, yeah,
exactly. It doesn't matter, right?
which is really
If a
good.
monster gets lucky on you, right, it doesn't matter. So, but yeah, that's another thing I forgot. You can buy strikes but you can only have a maximum of 5. So the
Okay.
guy that
Can't,
got 5 strikes
that's it.
can't buy any more strikes because he's
He's
got his maximum now, right?
gotcha. So Phil
So,
Dudley from Rude Jammer is on, and
oh, cool.
he pointed out, and I don't actually remember this. Don't forget the 4 horsemen for easy D6 setting.
Yes, yes, yes. Carl is an amazing person. He has helped run the Discord. Like, he
Okay.
helps answer all these questions. He's done the frequently asked questions.
Uh huh.
He's he play test stuff with me. He helped me do the advancement deck that's on EZD6. I mean, that's on drive through,
Yep.
if you want to, like, have kind of simulate level ups for your
Mm-hmm.
characters. You can use the advancement deck, or just have fun with it. Just, pass at a convention. You could pass a card to everybody, and then,
Right.
whatever, or three cards or whatever, 5 cards, and they pick one, right?
Yep.
So that's fun that way. But yeah, so shit, what was I saying?
4 horsemen for the easy D6 setting.
4 horsemen. Thank you, God. I got sidetracked. Okay, so the 4 horsemen is great.
Matt Finch did the same thing yesterday. He's like, I have no idea what question I'm trying to answer right now.
So the 4 horsemen is great. I was kind of like, like a historical thing.
Okay.
I was like, easy D6. I don't know, but then Carl showed it to me, and I was like, wow, this is really, really cool.
Okay.
I actually wrote a foreword for the book.
So what is the book? What's the basis of the book?
It's the 30 Years War.
Oh dear.
Yeah, but you could, and he kind of lays it out in little bite-sized tidbits. But you could have it like basically it's in the background of what's happening, right? Plague, war,
Okay, gotcha.
death. So it's your basic dark setting, right?
Okay.
So you can have it as much or as little in the background as you want.
Okay.
Right? You're not really focusing on that because you're not the main players of that. You're just in this.
Gotcha.
In this time of plague and war.
And
there are no magic users. Like, magic users are, magic is scary. Magic is witches. Magic is danger. Like,
okay.
And he actually has an adventure in the book that has like a magical thing in it, but the players don't have. There's no conjurers or anything in the system.
Okay, okay.
And he
Interesting.
has gunpowder, which is fun. Like he deals with like how deadly gunpowder is to not only the enemy but
But
to
to the
yourself,
people
right?
who are using it, yes. It does have a
Right,
tendency to go kablooey. Yes.
right,
It's
right.
yep. Oh, that's
And
awesome.
another thing I like he did was for instead of aspects, he kind of has like um professions that are like of the time, right?
Okay,
So maybe
okay.
you're a flatulent, or or maybe you're a clergy, or maybe if you're clergy, you can write, you can read Latin, you can
Gotcha.
where there's even a cannibal, like
Okay.
so like in one of the adventures, like because food is so scarce, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So maybe you're a cannibal, and like in one of the adventures, I think he has like where the cannibal, if you're a cannibal, like you can like tell medical type stuff. You know what I'm saying? You know human anatomy, right? So you can
We're
like,
not going to ask why
which
you
is not
know
the good
this.
way to
Yes,
go
yeah,
about
yeah.
it, but it's a very dark and gritty way to go
Oh
about
my
it.
god.
So I thought that was really clever and cool.
That is kind of
Um,
interesting.
and he does have some rules for like horseback, like horse riding.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
Very nice.
So
And that comes from the Easy D6 open license.
yes, as
So
well as Assignment Danger, which is a spy.
yeah, that
Yeah,
looks really cool. And that's kind of a
very
really
cool.
cool thing that you've done. You want to explain to folks what the license is and how they can use it?
The Easy D6 license is you can make your own Easy D6 stuff as long as you don't like you can use the layout of the pages of Easy Six, but as long as you don't steal my Bova art or like say what I said word for word out of the book,
Uh-huh,
you
uh-huh.
can basically do anything. And even if you did do that, I'd probably give you my blessing because most people end up showing me, oh, like here's I'm working on this or whatever. So yeah, it's really open and like you know I'm going to promise you that we're not going to come after you legally, right?
Yes,
There's
yeah.
no legalese or anything in it. It's not like
Mhm.
you are protected, blah blah blah. But I'm a dude with not a huge amount of resources to go sue everyone who I
Right.
think. So I'm not, the coast dudes who are
Mhm.
going to go after anybody they don't like, right? And
Yes.
have the resources to do that. Like, so
The
don't worry
the
about it.
the Demon
Don't
Sky
worry
went
about the
over Wizards of
legalese
the
or whatever.
Coast.
There's
Yeah, they
no
all went
legalese.
nuts.
It's
Yeah.
just it's open. Do what
Uh-huh.
you want. Do what you want with it.
That's really cool. All right, I have one request, and then I have that one question because I know it's going to be a little bit more involved, and we're just
Oh
about
yeah,
in an hour, so I don't want to keep you too long. So my
yeah.
one request is all the cool artwork. Can we get like an official VTT release that has the artwork in it? Because that's
Oh,
how
that.
I've run it so much, and I love these creatures. I actually did a colorized version of a festoid at one point because it just looks
Oh,
so
neat,
cool and
neat.
it's like
Yeah,
so gross.
it is.
I would like that's my request to like get these artwork as like tokens that we can use.
That is a
Um,
great idea. I know that Brandon at Runehammer was talking about doing like a VTT type thing
yeah,
with tokens and stuff.
yep.
So, but he's been super busy because he's got like Crown and Skull that he's just
It's
released, which
just a
is a
little busy.
major,
Yeah,
yeah, which is a 300-page epic. So
yep,
he's been really busy. So I'm trying to get what I can, but
yep.
he's also working on something that's interesting, like a character deck
Oh, cool.
for
For ICIPG.
Wasted World.
Oh, for Race
So
World.
I
Oh,
think it's
cool,
for Wasted World, but he's working on some character decks, so that's pretty
cool.
cool too. So I don't know all the details of that, but that'll be more.
Yeah.
I also want to drop something that I'm working on. Um, this is the first time I've said it. It's
Oh,
here. Uh, I want to do like a prehistoric type thing, but with like dino riders, right? Like your cavemen dino riders.
we're going Fred Flintstone on it. I love it. Oh, that would be so cool.
And so yeah, like so your dinosaur, has like cool stats or whatever you choose, like the flesh terror or the the land stomper or the whatever you choose um will be will enhance whatever you're doing. And so I think that'll be really fun. I think that'll be really cool.
So when you first released Easy D6, did you think it would take off the way that it has?
Well, I was hoping, but you don't think so because like I mean, there are thousands and thousands of games on Drive Through RPG, right? And it could have been one of those games that just
That just
was here a week and it
Yeah.
fell off the list, and you never see it again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
somebody mentions it in some obscure thing, right? But like EZD6, it like won't drop off the list. Like it's still it's not in the top. I think it's pretty high in the top 100,
Uh-huh.
but
Uh-huh.
in the independent games list, it's like usually hangs around between 6 and 12
Nice. I mean,
since
congratulations.
I released it, right?
Yeah. I mean, you
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah. So
captured the imagination of a lot of folks who
I
really like,
think I
this is what I
did. I
want to
think
do.
I did. Because yeah, I just love it. It's really the way I want to play at the table,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Um, and it the players get so excited. I mean, I don't know if you've had this experience, but like I get in trouble at convention. I got to be careful because I get in trouble at conventions because the players get too loud because they get excited. There's no rules breaks, right? There's no rules breaks stopping the excitement.
So you're just
Okay,
going.
hold on, we got to look that up. Okay, hold on, the excitement will happen in just a moment. And then lukewarm, right?
Yeah.
But if you're like bam, 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 like for example, at Valhalla, I was running Vampire Hunters. This one I've done,
Okay.
and they were fighting the Dracula, right?
Uh-huh.
And they were like, they had this blood gem that Dracula wanted, and he was gonna take it. He was gonna grab it from him. He was just about to get it, and like one player was like a descendant of Mina Harker, and like held up this trinket, and Dracula kind of froze, because
Oh
his
gosh.
love,
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then this other guy had like this special stake, and he lunges forward, and he like stabs it into like Dracula, and you had to get like all these crits to like drive the stake in,
Yeah.
And so he's rolling crits. He's using karma. He's using his hero coin. And the table is exploding. I mean,
Yep.
it's like they're yelling, screaming.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, roll again! They're just going nuts. And that's to me, that's so fun. That the players are having so much fun.
And you're at a convention and the other tables are going,
Right.
which
I
just
always
has never
get
happened.
excited.
All right, so
I always get excited.
here is the question from Dave, who I hope is still watching. So Dave is an aspiring game designer, and he would like to know whatever advice you might have for him as an aspiring game designer trying to make his own game.
Yeah. Um, how I approached EZD6 was not, oh, here's a cool rule. Now let me make a game around it.
Mm.
Right? It's like, how can I make the rules work with how I want to play? Right?
Okay.
You mentioned a little bit just a minute ago.
Yeah.
How do I do that? How do I make and so it was like take all the unnecessary stuff out, right? What slows a game? Looking up rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
What slows a game? Adding math, right? Math to the game, right? Because when you roll dice, whether you roll a pool of dice and you need all fours, or you add a bonus, that's all taking time to figure out whether you did something or not, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
With
Yeah.
EZD6, even if you roll multiple dice, it's always the highest die. It doesn't matter you don't add anything, you don't pick out all the fours or whatever.
Except with the new power pull. You add a little
well,
math.
Even that is the highest die. It's just
so it is a highest die. Okay,
it's still the highest die.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay,
the power pool just only adds a boon after the fact. Like you already failed.
So it
the
is
roll,
just a boon. Gotcha. Okay.
And now you're rolling a boon as if you rolled it with the roll, but it's after the fact.
Gotcha.
Right? So that's what's really cool, right? And that kind of represents the experience of the character.
I see. I thought I caught you on math, and you didn't have any in the game.
Nope. So so there's the math thing is totally out, which you can have easy math in your game, but it's still, you got to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
It's not instant gratification. If you roll a 6 in EZD6, it's like, yeah, I mean a 20 in the D20 game, yeah, but I rolled a 17. Okay, now I got whatever, or it's 515 or whatever. Now I got to add this number. Oh, well, hold on, I got to roll my damage. Okay, let's see what I got here. I hit you for 3 points of damage. All right, next turn. It's like, that's not exciting. Rolling a 6. I crit. Yeah, roll it again. Oh, I got a 5. I'm going to use a karma to make that a crit. Oh, I roll again. I got a 4. I got 2 more karma. I'm going to roll. And the table's going nuts, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many times in a D&D game do you see tables just continue? You can only go nuts once because you can only roll a D20 5% of the time.
Right.
one time, right? You
Mm-hmm.
don't keep
Mm-hmm.
rolling the d20 and getting 20s, right?
Yep.
So, but yeah, with crits, it's like crazy. So and I love so that was one thing. Don't make a game. Don't come up with a clever mechanic and make a game around it. Come up with the way you want to play at the table, and then come up with mechanics around it. And that's what I did.
Okay.
And I think it's apparently is resonating with people.
It has definitely resonated with folks, but I think that's wonderful advice. It's really, really cool. All right, so you got anything else going on? Are you heading out to any conventions this fall at all, or are you home now?
uh, I well, there's a Dayton convention which I've actually never gone to, which I'm going to in November, which is weird. It's my hometown, right? I've
Well,
never
it's like
gone
me.
to
I
it.
grew up right in Philadelphia. I've seen the Liberty Bell once.
Oh,
So,
yeah, isn't that how it is, right?
yes.
So we're the home of the Wright brothers, and
Mm-hmm.
so I've done that Wright brothers stuff when I was a kid, but uh, so but yeah, so yeah, I'm working on what was I saying?
You're going to the Dayton Con.
Oh yeah, sorry, going to the Dayton Con. And then
You're
in
asking me?
November, later November, I need my coffee. I haven't had my coffee yet. Later November, I'm going to Mythicon,
Oh,
which
cool.
was Jeff Conn 2 years ago because he passed and everything. Which I devoted the book to him because he was so nice to me, allowing me to come to the convention and
Oh,
test these
cool.
Easy Six and stuff.
Yeah.
So Jeff, I have a dedication to him in the second book at the end of the
Nice.
book. Such a great guy, and but his convention is continuing. Mace is out Methicon and it's continuing, and the same old suspects are going to be
Oh,
there, and that's
cool.
going to be great. But this weekend I have a thing where I got invited by the Kalamazoo Library, Michigan, to sign books. So I'll be there
You're
at their
s-
Geek Con. They bought a bunch of books, and I'll be signing the books for people. And I'm going to run a demo game. I'm going to do like an hour demo game for people, like where here's your character already, and then I'll run them through like a quick
but
quick scenario.
Kalamazoo,
Kalamazoo Library.
like the place that people like say because they think it's a fictional place.
Right,
You're
exactly,
going to go
exactly.
do a book signing.
Yes, I am literally going to Kalamazoo.
That is the greatest thing of all time. Now we know how to get you places. So in the
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
just buy some books, Scotty will come sign them. It's fine. Pay for
Right,
airfare and a
exactly,
hotel, you're good.
exactly. That's all you got to do.
So you do have an invite in the thing. If you've ever seen on YouTube, there's a YouTuber called the Dungeon Minister, who
Uh-huh.
is literally an Anglican priest from Canada who does all his things, telling his story of his family campaigned wearing his clerical collar, which I find to be like the greatest thing. But
It's fun.
he's running his own convention called Clericon, and that's
Oh,
a number. So it's like, so come on up to Clericon, um, which I would go to if I had a passport. And then someone
right.
wanted to know what got you into the hobby in the first place. And we can end with that because it's getting to
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
after
yeah.
one now.
Yeah, I was a nerdy kid. Um, like a lot of these people, a lot of these old people that have started.
I don't have
My
any
dad
idea what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
My dad was a huge is a huge movie buff. And he exposed me to like he'd take me to the drive-in
Okay.
all the time, and he exposed me to all these great films, schlocky films, and Jason and the Argonauts,
Uh
and
huh.
sitting on the trunk of the hood of the car watching Jason and the Argonauts. And I love Ray Harryhausen, and so he does all these animated movies, and
Yep.
so like yeah, I was a nerd, and then D&D, and I'm like, what is this? And I got the boxes like people, and
Which one did
I,
you get? You
I
get Moldvay?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
uh-huh.
Okay.
And so then I started playing with friends and everything, and it's weird because even early, you could get those pewter miniatures or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or tin miniatures. Very early I was using that kind of stuff. Like I
Oh,
was I was making my own dungeon tiles out of cardboard and stuff,
Okay.
and using those miniatures. So that's funny that years later now I'm the craft father or whatever. But that was the kind of the birth of that also.
That's awesome.
That kind of seeing it in front of you. But so then, I played for a while and then I went to college and I got a family and I played a little bit with the kids. My daughter really loved it and
Okay.
she still plays today and she's a killer DM. She's like,
Nice.
she's like, Dad, it's like, I keep killing all the players. I'm like, well, you got to take it a little easy on them. She's like, I can't help it. They're so stupid. But anyway. So anyway. Don't play with my daughter. So anyways,
The GM doesn't kill the players. The players kill the players. We just narrate
I'm
it.
not a killer DM. Right?
I've had one death in all of my games.
Yeah, I have. It's very rare that I have a death.
Mm-hmm.
But so then, life passed, and I ran a little bit for the kids and stuff, and then I was at work, and which I work for PBS in
Oh,
downtown
awesome.
Dayton.
Cool.
So yeah, I work. I'm an operations engineer. I'm a glorified babysitter. I make sure that all the shows go out and everything. Your Nature and Nova and all that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So anyways, some friends at work were like, "Oh, we should play D&D." This was like 15 years ago, right? And
Okay.
some friends are like, "We should play D&D," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that'd be fun. I really like playing that." And it's like, well, you're going to be the game man. You're going to be the DM because none of us are to it. I'm like, okay. So then we started playing, and it was more theater of the mind. And I was like, I had some players who were kind of more visual.
Okay. Okay.
And I was like, huh. And I played Warhammer too. In that in between time, I played Warhammer. At one point I had my whole family involved. My stepson, my dad, my stepbrother. I had all these people we were playing with.
Gotcha.
But anyways. So I was really into the terrain, right? And I actually sold some terrain on eBay for a while.
Okay.
In the 90s until like the economy crashed. Nobody had any money. But anyways.
Yeah. Yep.
But anyways, so fast forward and then, we were playing. I thought, well, it'd be really neat to have some kind of visual aids, right? For these people. And then I thought, well, why don't I just break out the cardboard tiles? I'll make some more cardboard tiles. They're easy to make. They throw away tons of boxes at work. I have all the material I need.
Oh, cool.
And so I started making these tiles and I was like, this is pretty neat. They were loving it. Somebody was like, I was like, oh, this is pretty neat. Maybe I should like do a video,
It's there you go, your YouTube channel. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. The DM's craft. So I sheepishly set up, and there was no voiceover. I just talk right into the camera, and cut, so I'm really embarrassed with my early videos, but it's like one of those things where it's kind of like a time capsule, and I don't want to. I could take all that stuff down, but people still watch those videos.
Sure.
Right? They still watch those videos. And that's where I came with the 2.5D, where the strips on the wall strips are on the tiles, so it simulates walls, but it doesn't block your play because you don't want to stand up like at a war game, right?
Right.
You sit down, eat your Cheetos, and drink your Coke, right? You don't want to keep standing up. So the easier to see, the better, right? So that started the whole thing, and then the DM's craft, and then it blew up, and as I've been playing, I'm kind of looking for that perfect system, right? And just never finding it. And I'm like, well, I'm going to try to make, I mean, I think every big gamer says I'm going to try to make my own system.
Sure.
Right? that's just something a gamer says. But I'm like, I'm going to try to make my own system. And I started testing it and I was like, this is working well. This is working really well. And like I said, it was magic that was the final key. Once I unlocked the magic thing, that did it. That
really
was like,
cool.
Oh, this is perfect. This is perfect.
That's awesome.
So, and
thank you.
That's here I am today, talking to you, Wes.
And thank you for coming on. Listen.
Very welcome.
Just a couple things. First, what's the name of your YouTube channel for folks who don't know?
It's the DM's Craft. So if you just type in the DM's Craft in any browser, it'll pop up.
And there's a whole bunch of there's actual plays of VZD6. There's you doing different crafting of me looking on and going, I actually would never be able to do that. But all sorts of cool stuff. So go check it out, folks. Also, apparently when we were talking about killing GMs, we must have, either you or I have a feeling it was me, talked about killing the players. And people are like, we strongly discourage killing players. because the game has more longevity then. Also, it's not illegal. So to not kill the players. Killing the characters.
Killing the
That's it.
characters,
We
yes.
don't kill characters. We put a public notice: do not kill your players. That's illegal. Not to mention,
Right,
I'm gonna put a scrolling thing. I'm gonna have like a little. I'm gonna put a thing in.
Funny joke.
There we go.
Kill the
don't actually kill the players. That would be a bad thing to do.
Yes, characters. That's it.
And if you're keeping score, and the whole thing of the baseline of playing the game is don't be a dick, that is on the don't be a dick list. Killing players, definitely a dick move. Don't
it's
do
funny
that.
when players think I'm so mean. Like my home groups, sometimes they call me evil DM and think I'm so mean, but it's like, it's all just an act, right? It's like I like don't want to kill anybody. I hate killing player characters.
Yeah.
Except in horror games where I love killing players.
Well, it's kind of built in at that point, right? Like this is like, you're not supposed to survive. You like put that
exactly.
notion
If
out
we're
the
in a
window.
survival horror, you're on your own, buddy.
That's like awesome. Scotty, I've had an awesome time talking with you. I think the folks who are there, and Mage wants to know if it's only legality is the only reason not to kill players. No, it's just the baseline that we're going through right now. So shush. But
I don't want to lose players.
But I had such a great time. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh,
when do you expect the Wasted World 2 be coming out? Are you doing Kickstarter?
I always say, and that's always wrong.
Yeah.
I would like it by the end of the year.
Oh, cool. And are you going right to print, or are you doing a Kickstarter?
By the end of the year or early next year.
Okay. Are you doing a Kickstarter, or are you going right to print?
No, we're not doing a Kickstarter, just release.
Nice. Which is the same way that the adventure book got done. So that's going to be awesome. Not that I have anything against people who do Kickstarters, but I like being able to buy it and get it.
Right.
Which is great. And I'm doing the same thing. Allergies are terrible. So I'm going to shut down the stream for everybody else. Folks, thank you so much for watching. We had a really great chat going, and go back and watch the comments, Scotty. It's so much fun.
Thanks for showing up, guys.
But please stay online so I can say thank you after we get off. And but folks, I'll be back. I'm working on my Fantasy Age 2nd edition review. That is one thing that I got going on. And then I have The Strange from Monty Cook Games that I got sent a review copy for. So I'm looking forward to reviewing that.
Strange.
I've read the setting. And I'm like, I already love this book. This is so cool. I haven't even gotten to any of the type focuses or descriptors yet. It's
so good.
I'm excited about this game. So that's what I've got going up. Until we see each other again, folks, happy playing, everybody.